Right, look what we've got. We've actually got something quite interesting, something that might be a first for all of you. We're going to do a little quiz over here. Right, we've got this massive track, this big one. I would like to know which one this is. We shall call this track number 1. And then there's a big track over here. We shall call this number 2. And I'm going to put my hand here in the middle. Okay, that's so now hopefully you'll be able to see the size difference between 1 and track 2. Now, if you'd like to send your answers through, hashtag Safari Live on Twitter is, well, the only way to get hold of us. And then hopefully we'll figure out who is walking here. But these tracks are both very, very fresh sets of tracks. Track 1, I think, was moving around quite early this morning, maybe a little bit before track number 2. But there's quite a bit of excitement here. And I'll give you another clue. We're on Tayla access. So that's exciting. And they're both going in the same direction. They're both going sort of northwest at the moment. So who knows what we're going to find. Is that an Impala? So there's something walking all the way down the road. I think it is either, it's an antelope of some sort, just past Herbie. I think it was either it's a common daker, that's what it is. Here's Herbie and the little common daker. It is a daker, hey. Can you see it, Chandra? It's very far away from my eyes. That must be about 800 or 900 meters away. That's really quite far. So I can just see something small moving around on the ground. And they typically slink around quite a bit, the common daker, as well, very shy, not spending too much time out in the open, and they're actually quite comfortable at the moment. It hurts so bad when they bite. Try to keep your composure, but sometimes it's almost impossible. What we need to find right now is either some turpentine grass, or we need to get us some elephant dung. I don't think that there is any hope at the moment for a fly swatter. That is not going to work, so we're going to have to smoke the insects away. Louise, do we have any answers for our tracking quiz just yet? Ah, wonderful. Ooh, okay, good guess from James. James, you said number 1 is a giraffe. You are correct. However, your second guess, unfortunately, was not correct. You said that this is a lioness track. Let me put my hand here again. Have a look. So not quite big enough. Could be a young lioness, a juvenile, but unfortunately it is not a lioness track. That's not the one we're looking for. So take another guess, and I'm sure that there would... Oh, there we go. Ah, John and Kyle, well done. You got the double whammy over there. I don't know if that's the thing, but we'll just go. You've said giraffe and leopard. You're indeed correct. This is a male leopard's track, and it's most likely Tingana's track, just considering the route. And he was going up and down here, so I wonder if he perhaps picked up on Mvula's scent, because remember Mvula the other day was going up and down this particular road, and his scent will be very much still there. We haven't had any rain to wash that smell away, so I think he's going, hey, who has been walking in my area, because I'm going to find you and I'm going to chase you away. Now apparently his tracks cross west to Arathusa, but we'll keep following them. We'll just see what sort of route he took us on. It's quite nice to actually figure out the exact animal pathways that leopards will use, because again, like anything that marks a territory, there are creatures of habit, and they will use routes on a regular basis. So let's carry on. Was it a daker in the road? Was it too much glare? It was quite difficult, but it's actually still up there, so you'll just take a little stroll a little bit further ahead. And you see, now we're going to try again. It's still standing on the road. Its behavior looks very much like a common daker. Well, yeah, it is definitely. They went into the light. That makes it a little bit easier to see. You can see that sort of greyish colour, and of course this is the grey or the common daker. And they won't stay out for very long. I'm actually surprised, I'm sure it can hear me, and they haven't got particularly bad eyesight. Their eyesight's relatively good. So I'm surprised that it hasn't seen us and actually run away. It keeps going in the grass and then popping back out again. But there'll be absolutely no chance of us finding it again. As soon as we get a little bit closer, it will dart off quite far into the thicket. Now, Thomas, you're wondering if animals see like us. A little bit different. And obviously I've never put a lion's head on or a zebra's head on, so I can't exactly tell you how they see and what they must see like. But their variety of cones and rods in their eyes are slightly different to us, and they also don't see in color. We see in color. Insects, fish, and some birds can see certain shades of color, but unfortunately most of the mammals out here are seeing in sort of a grayish, white, black, that type of thing. So they can definitely see texture and definition. They're seeing all that type of thing. Whether, and this again varies from animal to animal, whether they can see as far as us or see as much detail as we can, I'm not really too certain, and I don't think there's too many people out in the world that can say for sure they know exactly. And we're actually talking about this 2 nights ago, and I think it's going to be really interesting with the rate at which technology is going and moving forward these days. We might have an opportunity to really be able to see how the animals see at night or during the day. So we obviously read about all these different theories that people have come up with, and well, we tell them to you, but hopefully that will change. Like my favorite example is that entire sleeping article on the elephants and the study that they've done. Let me just quickly get that message from Louise. There we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to very quickly go across to Byron. He's got something interesting to show you.
Not that interesting, but I've got something to show you at least. There's an Impala. Finally we found something. Beautiful male Impala. Now, what is interesting, however, is that very soon we are moving into the rutting season. And I've heard 1 or 2 males already doing that snorting rut that they do. They challenge one another for dominance. And then for females, nice to see that Impala walking down the road. Let's see what else we can find. But what is amazing is that how these males get so absorbed into the fighting and the rutting. And I mean, it's all about challenging one another for basically a territory for the moment while they try and mate with the females, or for dominance rather than anything else. But they get so involved and they fight that they actually forget what's going on around them, or they just ignore it. And so many male Impala are often... Did you see something? What have you seen there? Have you found a leopard for us? No. So many male Impala get hunted this time of year, April, May, during the rut, because they'll fight and they lose concentration completely, and so focused on fighting one another that they forget to look around for predators. And that snorting and grunting obviously attracts a lot of predators like lion and leopard, and they'll come in and it'll be a lot easier for them to hunt them. Anna, I'm not sure. I mean, you want to know if the antelope species are able to catch rabies. I don't know. I've never seen a rabid Impala running around, thank goodness. but I don't know. I have absolutely no idea. I've never heard of it. We'll try and research and see if there have been records. So I'll see if I can get back to you on that one, but I have no idea. Yeah, it's an interesting question. I'm not sure, and I'm just trying to think now. I mean, you've heard of obviously dogs get rabies. There was that leopard that they feared might catch rabies from eating a dog. So what was it? Sindile? Was it Sindile? Sindile, I think. Yeah, that they basically just doctored and interfered slightly, but again, that's because they had to, because it ate something that it normally wouldn't have eaten, and that's because of man being close to or in proximity of the game reserve. So I found something I would like to show you though. So anyway, so those big cats and that, they get rabies, and the dogs get rabies. I'm not sure about antelope. Now well, I know Tristan and Tayla was speaking about dating advice. So actually, I didn't think I'd be very good giving us. However, up in the tree to my right, can you see that cluster of dark green leaves over there? Now that is mistletoe. That is indeed a parasite, a mistletoe, and that is growing up in the branches of the marula tree. So maybe we should start carrying around some mistletoe with us. even though it's only March, but maybe the Christmas tradition of kissing under the mistletoe can work. What do you say? What do you think, Craig? Batman, a man of many words. Craig's gotten all shy now, he's not sure. I'm not sure, Louise. Louise would like to know if it's possible for Batman to blush. Well, he hasn't got his mask on at the moment, so we may see it if he does. Alright, now somebody who doesn't need any mistletoe around him, Tristan Dix. Let's go and see what he's up to.
Well, Byron, I'm not so sure about the mistletoe story. Sorry, we got spider webs again. Yeah, maybe I don't need it. Who knows? I suppose if you've got a significant other, then it's no need for mistletoe. But we are on Arathusa airstrip, so we are here to try and see if the lions are still around and still hanging in this area. I believe that they were seen, and I see a vehicle here, so I think they are here. Let's just see. There we go. I can see them, and I can see a lion, already one, which is great news. That's good news, Vim. Lions are good. So I wonder how many we've got here. This will be quite interesting to see. Now I'm just trying to work out which way is going to be the best way in. I think let's go around this way. I think that we might have to go back a little bit, Vim, although there looks like a gap. So it is quite thick off the airstrip, and it's because the sun is up. So unlike the other two times that we've seen them on the airstrip where the weather's been pretty foul and overcast and fairly sort of grey, it's pretty warm already this morning. So for lions, especially if this is a male and female, I'm not sure. I saw one female so far. If it is that, then it's going to be pretty hot out on the runway. So I'm sure they're trying to make their way to be able to get some sort of shade. And there in front of us, you can see, is our male lion in the long grass, and next to him is his female. So this is the little romantic couple that we've got here. Now I'm not 100% sure which Birmingham male this is. It looks like Nsuku again, but I might be wrong. So for those of you that know the lions, if you want to let us know who this is. I can't see very nicely at all. The grass is all in his face and obscuring him a little bit. But it is definitely one of the Styx females on the right. That I know for sure. I'm trying to see if his canine is broken. It does look like it is. Doesn't it, Vim? It is, hey. So is this good old Tinyo? Is it his bottom left canine, Vim? Bottom left. Yeah, and it must be Tinyo that we've got here with this female. So we had Nsuku with one of the females the other day, and now we've got Tinyo, so they've just done a trade. And we were chatting about it actually, and we were saying that females will sometimes mate with all four of the Birminghams in order to be able to ensure the safety of the cubs. But you can see that this boy is hot. Look at how his mouth is open already. He's really starting a slow pant. So he's starting to get a little bit warm. And you'll find that what they're going to do is through the day today is they're going to just follow the shade around and try and position themselves in shade, because it's going to be very warm for them today. And anytime the female moves, you'll see that he'll move and he'll kind of move his head. Oh, hello boy. Just repositioning himself into a terrible place for us. You can see he's almost disappeared now. So even though they've got those big manes, male lions can camouflage quite well even in this long grass. There you can see the female. She's almost invisible. If it wasn't for that little black tuft to the ear, we would really be struggling to see this lioness. These guys are going to be good for hunting in this area, because if they sit in this particular piece of grass, then lots of animals on the airstrip that they're going to be able to then launch an attack from here. So it'll be interesting to see what's going on. Now I know yesterday apparently they managed to grab a warthog during the day. Malia, you're wondering if it's true if African lions can live in the cold as well. Well, they can. They don't really like it, so you'll find with them that most of the time they're spending their time in the hot savanna areas and plains of Africa, but sometimes what happens is people have moved them into other parts of the world, so into zoos into Eastern Europe and Northern Europe, and it gets really, really very cold there, and unfortunately the lions then have to deal with it. Now the thing is what happens is when they're in those kind of places, you'll end up with a situation where the lions will get much bigger, thicker manes on the males, and the female's coat gets very, very long to try and sort of insulate them and keep them nice and warm. So I have seen lions that are living in places like the Berlin Zoo, where there is snow regularly, and they lie in the snow and they just get much thicker woolly coats that allow them to survive in that. But it really isn't ideal. A lion is not really designed to be in very, very cold conditions like that. Well, not anymore anyway. When they used to occur throughout Europe and Asia, then there would have been some that would have occurred in colder climes, but now they've all been hunted out, and really the sort of only populations of African lions are all in warm areas. You don't find them in any of the cold places. They don't even go up onto Mount Kilimanjaro, which is probably got the only snow cap that we see where wildlife occurs. They tend to not even go up anywhere near where the snow forms on that area. So they prefer warmer conditions. They are not an animal that likes cold weather at all. Although they also don't like it too hot. You can imagine it must be so uncomfortable to be a big male lion when there is 40-degree or 50-degree heat coming down and very little shade. It must be very uncomfortable, especially if you've eaten. VM, should we try reposition so we can get a better view of these two lions? What do you think? I think so. Because where we are right now, all we're seeing is grass at this stage. Sorry, I was just taking my jersey off there. I do apologize. It's getting quite warm now, especially now that we're stationary. When you're driving, there's still a little bit of sort of coolness to the air, but when you're stationary and in the sun, it's very, very hot. So it's just needed to get rid of that, and we also just need to try and get around this tree because our aerial won't fit underneath there. But if we go this, or what the situation is, but hopefully all of them are here, and the little cubs too. Be nice to see them and see how they're doing. And like I say, they managed to catch a warthog during the day yesterday, so they had a good meal at least. Now, just want to slowly edge in here. Liam, tell me when is good for you. Tom, you're wondering how old this male lion is that's lying in the grass like this. Well, he now is probably about 7 years. That's what we think. We're not 100% sure on the exact age, so we can't give you months, but we know that they were in the Timbavati area as younger males in 2013, and at that stage they were looked as though they were about 3-4 years old, so they were still with their pride, and then they left that area and ended up coming up into the Sabi Sand, or down into the Sabi Sand, should I say. And they've been here now for about 3 years, so they would make them about 7 years old. So in the prime of his life at the moment, he's at the age where he's going to be his most powerful, his body's in his best condition, and they like this until about 10 years old. Then from 10 they start to kind of break down a little bit, their bodies start to get a little bit tired, their teeth start to wear, claws start to wear, then younger males come in, and it becomes much harder for these guys to sustain their territory, and by the time they reach 12 to 14 years, they typically are at the end of their lifespan and then passing away. So he's halfway through his life at this stage, which is, like I say, the best years of a male lion. He's territorially dominant, he's got a strong coalition. So beautiful. We don't name all the animals out here because we would have a serious issue with remembering the names of all the impalas. You can imagine having to keep track of thousands and thousands of impala names, as well as to be able to even ID them. But in terms of the territorial animals, they generally are the ones that get some sort of ID. So you'll find like lion prides, coalitions, territorial leopard. They tend to have names, which is more just an ID kit. So it's to be able to work out who is who, where they come from, where their movements are, so that we know that the lineages of certain animals and how that all fits in. And a lot of the research purposes, they need to know different animals to be able to know where they're moving and to monitor their kind of progress and where they're going. The wild dogs also, the packs have names just for the research purposes so that they can know which packs are which and be able to sort them out. So these guys, that's why they get a sort of name. It's not really naming as in this is this animal and we name it like our pet. It's more just an ID name to be able to work out who is who and be able to then follow their progress through life. A lot of the data, even what we see here on Safari Live, we log on to Panthera. Now Panthera is an organization that had developed a system that you can basically every day upload the sightings that you've had, and you put little pins on maps, and from that they can glean all the data and the movement of these animals and see how they're going and see what environmental changes and how that affects where they move around. So it's quite a good thing to do and quite a good thing to have, and so that's why they have these names. But you can see they are absolutely flat at the moment. It's because of how warm it is. It's not a very pleasant time for a lion. They want to wait for the darkness of night to come back where they can be a little bit more active. Although these lions haven't really left the airstrip for the last 5 days, so hopefully they'll continue to stay here, because it's quite nice just to come here and know that they'll be here. Now we're going to stay for a little bit longer and we're going to see, hopefully we'll get some movement, maybe there'll even be a bit of mating, and while we do that, let's go across to Byron and see what adventures he's on and whether he's found himself some mistletoe.
Well, I've just come across a whole bunch of vultures at the moment. Have a look at this. We've got out into this little clearing, and I don't think it's because there's any food around. Maybe, I'm not sure. You know what, we're not too far from that Arathusa airstrip. Now, I wonder if it's just because there's a bit of water around, and maybe with these dead trees, it's provided a nice place for them to perch for the night, and possibly soon they'll take off and start soaring as the thermals rise and hopefully look for food. So yeah, white-backed vultures. I don't see any of them going down to the ground, and I'm just scanning around. I don't see any sign of a kill or anything. Let's have a look. Alright, but now I have decided to do something different this morning. It's a nice morning. We've been out on drive for about 2.5 hours or so. 2 hours, yeah, about 2 hours. would do with guests is now's a great time to stop and stretch your legs a little bit, so I think we are going to do that. And also what I do is this. Get the coffee mugs out. And we usually have snacks, and Craig's in a lot of luck this morning because guess what, Craig? I brought us some coffee. So you are my guest this morning, and all of you watching around the world, depending on where you are, I think perhaps now is a good time for a cup of coffee. So what we do on safari is you get out, it's nice to stretch the legs after being sitting in the vehicle for some time, and you can pour yourself, or your ranger normally pours, either tea or coffee or hot chocolate. Craig, you don't have a choice this morning, you are just getting coffee. Craig says, do you not drink coffee, Craig? You can taste that though, maybe. And then and we can stop and enjoy our cup of coffee and the view and allow the animals to come to us. I always say that while we are out in the bush, if you're not seeing much, it's not a bad idea just to stop and enjoy the scenery and allow the animals to come to you. It sometimes works. At the moment, there's just a lot of monotonous larks around, but at least we have got a cup of coffee. So, oh, it's good. Cheers, everyone. Nice cup of coffee. Don't tell anyone else. I think they'll all get quite jealous. As I said, it's great to stop when you are on safari at the lodges and you stop for a coffee break in the mornings or sundowners in the evenings. Don't want to lose my mug here. I think James would be quite jealous about my cup of coffee this morning. So we can let's see how our multitasking is with driving and drinking coffee. I'm sure the ladies in the final control might be a bit jealous too. Alright, well, Tayla's got something smoking. Now, I wonder what that could be.
I'm blowing on some elephant dung. As you can see, I slapped myself silly earlier with all the flies that were biting us, and were biting Herbie and biting Gendre too. And then I tried to hold the elephant dung and burnt it. And then, as you can imagine, because I found some dry ones, a very rare occasion of finding dry elephant dung at the moment, it's actually not as common as you think. And then I found this bit of sort of wood on the ground that had a natural cavity in it. So I thought, well, I can just walk around it. And I just stuffed lots of grass inside, and not grass, all the elephant dung inside, which is mainly made up of grass at this time of the year. And now it is burning around, and I can move it. I can quite easily do this. The wind is quite strong now all of a sudden. I cover Gendre when the flies are biting you. And have you had many flies now? Are they still biting you, Gendre? Oh, I'm sorry, I'll have to put it on you more. They haven't bitten me once. I haven't had to touch my legs, not even on one occasion. But there's plenty of evidence that the elephants are around, and I think that they were moving through here probably really this morning. Let's have a look at the different things. Now, the first one is actually down here on the floor in the form of a quarry bush, which has been pulled off. Actually, you can see, I apologize, my hands are filthy. See how that's covered in, it's not wet anymore, but the sand has stuck to it. So that's from the elephant biting down on the branch and then pulling it off, possibly going for the bark, and then of course with the saliva being sticky, it got all this fine sand stuck to it. So that's quite nice. Not particularly wet, though it's still quite fresh. So I think it was probably this morning, which is quite nice. And then the next thing, make sure my fire is still going, is we've got a number of different elephant footprints, but we get to, well, some better evidence. Again, oh, here we go, this is a better one. Let me pull this one up. Trying to hold too many things at once. Here we go. You can see how the elephant has completely broken this branch, then twisted, doing that corkscrew motion. And if we go further down, you'll actually see All the teeth mark. I'm trying to hold too many things. Let me put that down for a moment. Let's have a closer look here. Look at that. Can you see where the molars have actually scraped? You can see the discoloration from the very, very yellow bark. And then you'll see sort of some whiter spots. And that's where the teeth have connected with the bark and stripped this part. It comes off easily. And then they're going for this layer on the inside. So you see it's quite pink in color. That is the cambium layer. And that's what they're eating. And it's nice and moist. So definitely still from this morning. There's actually quite a bit of action going on. Not only is there plenty signs that there was a herd of elephants moving around here at some point. Of course, let me put this back, chuck it off the road, pick up this piece of wood that I want to go. And there's also some urine, which is still a little bit wet to the touch. And then, of course, some very fresh elephant dung. There's a couple of beetles and insects that have made their way to it. But the impala are alarming. And it's not just one of them. We can't work out if they're alarming at us or if they're alarming at something else. But they've been doing it for quite some time now. So let's go to Herbie and let's get an update from him and see what he thinks. But this is the direction that the leopard tracks are going. Whew. Where's those flies? And you put it all over me. Let's give that a bit of oxygen. Herbie, anything? Nothing. Do you think it's for us? Herbie says he actually thinks it's for us. And again, the impala are on high alert at the moment. It's quite thick for them. No, now it's not working. Come. Get the flies off of me. Maybe it's my own hair tickling my face. Let's try to get it going again. But the impala are indeed a little bit cautious at the moment. They can't see our every move, so it is possible that they are just shouting at us. We're going to have to do a bit of a top-up. We have to find some dry elephant dung. Then literally this is what I've been finding. Small patches on the ground like this. And just having to go away, flies. Now they come back again. Smoke you. I'll smoke you with elephant dung. No. There's just one that's an unfriendly fly. And it's going to end up on the underside of my hand if it's not very careful. Surely the flies should be aware of me. I should be a natural predator towards flies now with the amount that I've swatted with guarri bushes and roundleaf teaks and the African wattle. My goodness. Right, and well, speaking of elephant dung, elephant footprints, and, well, things that elephants eat, Byron has managed to find the animal that we've been seeing.
I have, Taylor. There was a big bull that crossed the road, and now a younger... It looks like a younger male. It's all younger female. I didn't see properly. Now just crossed the road very quickly. And they're heading off into Simbambili. For some reason they're moving quite quickly. Possibly just looking for food. Just going to move off the road quickly. There's a car coming. Aufschön! So some local staff on their way to the lodge that they work at. It's a pity those elephants moved off so quickly. There might be others around. I'm just having a look. Now I'm also curious. Now Tayla has had impala alarm calling around Sandy Patch. I'm not too far from her. So if her and Herbert are able to give me a direction, I'll go in and try and help them and see. Maybe we can find something there. Do you see something, Craig? At Tayla. Maybe they were alarm calling at Gendre. He's been away for a while, so they're not used to seeing him. There we go. There's a little Ellie here. But the bush is so thick at the moment, they disappear so quickly. But there is a herd of elephant around, and I'm sure this is possibly the herd that Tayla had the signs of. Hoping some more decide to come out, but I think they're just feeding. So slowly moving, not moving very quickly into a specific area. Hang on, one is coming out slowly, perhaps behind us. It might come out here. At least 2 or 3 in here. Oh, there's a rather large one, 2 large elephant. Let's see if we can get a nice view of them. There we go. Craig, is that alright? The light is a bit tricky at this angle. We're looking directly east at the moment. At least we can still see them. Beautiful morning. You can see them flapping their ears, and that's just cooling themselves slightly, even though it is still a cool morning. But I think with the sun baking down on them, these elephant, and those are females that we can see there, but these elephants are trying to cool themselves, so just flapping their ears slightly. We know that they've got a lot of blood that passes through those ears, and those capillaries, or those veins in the ears, basically what happens is as they flap, they cool the blood down, and that blood circulates through the body and slowly cools the body down. Wow, I can just hear branches cracking around us, all around us at the moment. Even though we can't see the elephant, know they're there. See what happens. 1 cup of coffee and things start happening. Let's see, these elephants are hopefully going to move out into the open. I'm going to try and move a little bit closer. Megan, if the elephant tusks, or if the elephant breaks their tusks, they do not grow back. We've seen many elephants with broken tusks, but they don't grow back. There's a lot of nerves throughout that tusk, and once those nerve endings are damaged, but the tusk doesn't grow back. I think there's a point, a small tip of the tusk, that if that breaks or is damaged, that may grow back slightly, but it's a very small section of the tip of the tusk. Otherwise, the rest of the tusk, if it breaks, it does not grow back at all. I'm just waiting now. Let's see if these elephant do come out. I'm hoping they come out in front of us. Here we go. I'll move a little bit further forward. Come on. So they're just feeding on the edge of the thicket here, and but the rest of the herd has moved off to our left. So I'm hoping these all decide to follow. Such a peaceful morning. A lot of bird calls, and it's so nice just to listen to the bush a little bit. See if we can get you to hear these elephants while they are feeding and the noises around us at the moment. Let's listen. So at the moment we can hear Cape turtle dove calling. We can hear the monotonous larks, obviously. We can hear, what else did I hear? A lot of doves at the moment, but then also the elephant moving through the grass, tearing the grass and feeding on it. There's a rattling testicular going at the moment. Sweet history. Now, the elephants start growing their tusks from a very, very early age. I think the calves do get what are known as milk tusks, but you don't really read about it that much, and you don't see them. But they do actually lose those quite early on. But I think you'll start seeing little tips of tusks coming out from 3-4 years old. You start seeing the tips showing. So from a very, very early age, those tusks start growing. But it's also genetic. Some elephant tusks might grow a lot sooner. And we do know that some elephant do not have tusks that grow out. It just happens that they don't have tusks. That does happen at times. But both male and female elephant, or African elephant, have tusks. I know occasionally people think that only the males have tusks, but here in Africa, both male and female grow tusks. But sometimes it can happen where the tusks don't grow out at all. Hang on, here's one elephant close to the road, just off to the left. There we go. There's a lovely view of one right here. And you can see they're enjoying this lush vegetation, the green grass at the moment. Oh, look, there's a young elephant just in front of us. In the tree, look here. It's hiding in the shade there, actually. Very cute. Looks like it was getting a little bit agitated by us, but you can see how that little trunk is trying to break off leaves and branches and feed on the grass just like the adults do. Probably still learning a lot. Button's cockatoo, I'm not entirely sure of the exact number of teeth that the elephant have, but they've got quite a few molars and premolars. But what happens is, what is interesting is those teeth get worn down over time, and they actually are replaced by a new set. But those teeth, they actually go through 6 sets of teeth throughout their lifespan. So that little one is very upset with us. Look at that. That is interesting. It sounds like the elephant have 26 teeth in total. I'm a little bit confused by that, but 6 sets of teeth throughout their lifetime. So those teeth then get replaced, and eventually once that last set wears down, that's usually when elephant do reach the end of their lifespan, and if they die of natural causes, that's one of them is hunger. They don't get the nutrients and food. But what a lovely sighting. Nice to see all these elephants around. I may hang around here a little bit longer. Let's head back to Tristan and see what those lions are up to.
Well, Byron, as you can see, very little. The stomach is working hard and the flies are around, but the lions are very sleepy indeed. So we managed to find the female and the cubs. So there's the female lying there, and the cub is just behind her there in the grass. You can see lying there, that's the little cub. It's very difficult to see anything in this long grass. It's almost impossible. And if you were walking around here, you would have to really walk right on top of them before you would see them. And funnily enough, in that little area you can see lots of flies. So that's about the only activity that's happening, is this tummy that is working hard to try and digest this mass amount of protein that's been shoved inside there, and all the little flies that are bouncing around all over the place that are attracted by bits of meat, as well as the fur of the lions is quite nice to just sit on and take it easy, and lots of sort of surface area to be lying on. They will be driving these lioness crazy. Those are those biting flies, so the ones that really aren't very pleasant. And Steph explained it very well the other day, that a biting fly is like, it lands on you and then it's just this slow increase in pressure that eventually starts to become painful. So it's almost like when you get burnt, there's a delay in the sort of pain arriving at your brain. So the fly lands and then it just steadily gets more and more painful, and all of a sudden then you realize, actually no, that does hurt, and that's when you chase them away. So it will be probably driving this lioness absolutely mad. Now you can see there's her eye on the right side. It's got a little bit of a cut over it at the moment, so she's obviously had a little fight with somebody, and probably in all likelihood to do with food and competition over a carcass. Like I say, they did kill a warthog yesterday, so a warthog is not a big meal for all of these lions. They would have fought quite a bit over that, and that's why she's got that. Danya, the animals can die from tick infestation. So I've seen giraffe that have been compromised due to like a leg injury, or have some sort of problem with mobility that allows ticks to really get onto them and them not to be able to go over trees and scrape them off, or be able to move into areas where they can get rid of those ticks. They get a massive infestation of ticks, and then that can cause problems and they can die from it. So it is possible. Animals with too many ticks most definitely can. A tick has basically a poison in its saliva, and so when it's feeding off these animals, little bits of it and at a time is not really going to affect you. But if you get massive amounts of it being pumped into your bloodstream, it causes a staphylococcus infection, which can be fatal to some of the animals out here. So you find it's normally weakened animals that have some sort of injury that start to pick up high loads of ticks, and the more they pick up, the more the immune system is being punished, the harder it is for them to overcome it, the more ticks arrive, and eventually they get too ill, and they then can't, in the case of predators, hunt. In the case of herbivores, they can't move around enough to get enough food and enough water to sustain themselves, and they then die from it. So it's not a very pleasant thing, but it does happen. But you need thousands upon thousands upon thousands for that to happen. One giraffe in particular that I was thinking about now, I remember seeing it, and its whole stomach and inside of its legs, you could not see any white whatsoever. It was just a black crawling mass of ticks that its legs and stomach it was horrible. And that poor animal had a broken leg and it wasn't able to move around, and these ticks were just all over it, and it eventually just wasted away from that and passed away and was eaten by lions. But it was quite something to see. Now, I think these lions are done for the day. Surprisingly enough, around them is a male lion and another female and another cub. So you can see there is the hair for that male just sticking through the grass. So you wouldn't expect there to be another lioness in this area as well, but there is, and another cub. So there is actually 5 lions lying in that area, and if you can spot 5 lions in that picture there, I would be very, very impressed. Now, sorry Lou, I did not catch the name of the viewer that was asking about whether the injured zebra was eaten by the lions. Penny Pine. Hello, Penny Pine. Sorry, I didn't get your name the first time round, but you're wondering if the lions ate the injured zebra. Penny, I'm not sure. So I know James had a different injured zebra to the one that we had on quarantine, and it seems both have gone missing. So whether it was the lions, I don't know. The lions, like I say, killed a warthog yesterday. That I know for sure because it was seen and the people saw the carcass of the warthog. And that's that full belly, but they in all likelihood could have killed that zebra. I have not seen it. I have not seen the zebra on quarantine, and I would imagine that probably both of them maybe have been killed. It's very, very possible. Just remember that there was also at one stage 3 lionesses here, the 2 cubs and 3 Birmingham males. So that particular evening, it's very possible that they got hold of that zebra, because that was the day James saw them. And between the 3 males and these 3 females, they could easily have eaten that completely before we even got there in the morning. And they were very full-bellied the next day, so I mean, it's a hypothetically, it could have happened. We just don't know for sure. I suppose time will tell if somebody finds a carcass or if there's any sort of sign of it, or maybe the zebra reappears. But no one knows for sure if that zebra has been eaten or if it is still alive. But it would surprise me if it is still alive, because generally when zebras have an injury like that, like the one on quarantine or the one here, they typically are very sore, so they don't move massive distances. They try and stay in an area to recuperate, especially an area that's got short open grass and water. They're going to try to stay there as much as possible, because that's the perfect habitat for them, and they're able to get the nutrients that they need as well as water that they need to survive. this fighting of the disease and the immune system trying to recover from this attack is going to require a lot of nutrients and water, and so it will be very, very difficult if that animal moves and walks away from those areas. And the only reason it would probably do that is if it was chased again and adrenaline kicks in and it tries to run out of that area. But like I say, they haven't been seen anywhere else, and so you would typically think that they would be somewhere close by in a similar kind of environment, and there's been no sign of them, so I don't think that either of them are alive, to be honest. But you never know. You can never say never until we actually find a carcass or until we see them again. We can't make 100% sure of either. There's very little movement. They found themselves a perfect spot because there's a big marula tree behind us that is creating lots of shade. So there's the marula tree, and the sun is coming just through there, and so this is a perfect little shady part that they can lie in. And so all of the lions moved into this and they've laid down, and I think this is where they're going to try and stay for the day and just follow the shade around. Smithy T, you're wondering how hot is it right now? Well, it's about 22 degrees, which is about 78, I think, somewhere around there, Fahrenheit. So it's fairly warm. I think it's actually maybe hotter. 72, sorry, thanks, Lou. It actually feels a lot warmer than that, to be honest. There's a slight wind that is blowing, and that's maybe the wind chill is causing it to come down, but it's definitely not very cold. In the sun itself, and if you're sitting directly in the sun, it's starting to get quite hot. In fact, both VM and I have taken our jerseys off because of it. When we're driving, it's still a little bit cool. Like I say, the wind is quite chilly, but sitting in the sun is lovely and warm, and it's a typical autumn's day. Like I say, the summer is starting to just wane a little bit, and we're ending up with these days that are these beautiful, sort of bright, crystal blue, clear skies. And then this sort of nice sun that comes down, but there is this cooler sort of air that is moving through on the wind, that is cooling it down and not making it feel like the stifling heat of the summer sun. And that's about right time. We are now approaching the 1st of April, which is crazy. This year has gone very fast, but as soon as sort of April comes, that's normally as we start moving into our autumn, or our fall, as it's known as. And we generally have very short autumns, falls, or springs. Normally they're only about sort of 4 to 5 weeks long, and then we go into winter. It's quite an interesting thing in this area. We seldom have long sort of periods in changes of temperature. It goes quite quickly, and you can actually notice it there with that lioness, is that the tops of the grass are starting to just fade a little bit. They're no longer that vibrant green. You see they're starting to go a little bit brown towards the top ends. So this cold little snap has caused the grasses to start changing color, and it's been quite noticeable in the last sort of 3-4 days. The grass is definitely not as vibrant as what it was. You can see most of them are starting to drop seed already. So there's some Panicum maximum, which is guinea grass, and that guinea grass is quite tasty, but it's dropping seed quite quickly. Right, so talking about grasses and seeds and such things, Tayla is still wading through the grasses on her walk, and I wonder if she's got anything interesting for us to see.
I'm still just not being bitten by anything, which is quite wonderful. So I've got my little incense holder for the elephant dung. Now we're just on our way back to quarantine. We did have a very, very quick look around to see if it was indeed possibly something else that those impala were alarming at, but it turns out myself, Herbie and Jeandre today are very scary, and they felt the need to shout about. But other than that, it's actually been a bit quiet. I haven't seen barring one elegant locust, there's been very few insects. Let me just check this Weltheria. There's a couple of Weltherias here, and I've just spotted some wilted leaves. Go down and have a look. Have a quick squiz here, and sometimes it's really tough. You've got to get so close to see if you can spot anything. See if we can get a spider or something here. But even the spiders seem to be, well, not around at the moment. Perhaps I'm smoking everything out with my little incense thing. No, No, and I'm just burning myself now with little embers that are coming off. Very quiet on the wealth there. Here's a caterpillar. Wondering why we could see. Genre, let me find the best spot for you here. If I move this grass out of the way, you may be able to see it. It's just in here. You go around there. Have you got it? There. In that leaf. Actually, if you come, I think this other part is. See, I've got too many things in my hand. That's the only problem. I need to work out a smaller thing to be able to carry these embers in. But there's a couple of these acria larvae still moving around in the wealth areas. I think you'll have to come this way. He's in here. I'm just trying to hold this down. Here's a little one. Can you see him just in there? There he is. He's hiding about. Not too many on this one, just a couple. But they don't seem to be growing as quickly as the ones we saw, we watched with James. These ones seem to be slowing down a little bit, and I wonder if it's just because, well, the plants are starting to wilt now as well. I don't think the nutrient capacity is as great as when we were having TV shows and we were getting rain once a week. It might take them a little bit longer to develop, and I think these are the last of the caterpillars that we're going to be seeing now as we make our way into autumn and winter. It's very, very unusual to see caterpillars so late in the season. So I think by, what are we going into now? April, the end, maybe mid-April, that'll be it. And even the butterflies will slowly start to vanish. There'll be a couple, the monarchs are often here, or most of the time. But other than that, it'll be quiet. Right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to keep walking. Oh, saw a big kudu run across the road, but it seems as though Tristan's found some birds, big ones, on the ground.
Indeed we have. So we've got two different species of vulture here. We've got the hooded vulture and the white-backed vultures. So the hooded is the one on the far right with its head down, and then three white-backed vultures to the left. You can see the size difference between the two of them is quite large. And white-backed vulture is a big, bulky bird with that big, chunky beak, whereas the hooded vulture is slightly smaller, much smaller head, much smaller beak as well. That's probably a better example. We can see that one, but you can see, look how thin that little beak is and smaller head, and that just shows you the sort of difference between the two of them is needed, because when you have a carcass, you will have a situation where these white-backed vultures come in and they'll eat big chunks of meat off the main part of the carcass, but there'll still be lots and lots and lots of scraps left over, and those hooded vultures can get their beaks into places that the white-backed or leopard-faced or white-headed vultures can't do, and they're actually the ones that really clean the carcass. They get rid of all those little scraps all along the bones, they clean between all the little bits, and they actually get the most out of it. So they're probably all here due to this carcass, this warthog carcass from yesterday. I would imagine that's why they're here, or unless maybe these lions have killed something else last night. I do see some more sitting in a tree close by, and there's actually even a crow there as well. Now, I haven't seen a white-necked raven in a long, long time, so interesting that they are here. It's not a common thing for us. Generally, the vultures outcompete them, and they really don't get a look in, so for them... Sorry, it's not a white-necked raven. Did I say white-necked raven? I did, didn't I? It's not a white-necked raven. I don't know why I said white-necked raven. It is a pied crow is what they are. I'll try and show you where they are now. Just hold on 2 seconds. I'm just going to go forward a little bit. So there we go. There's the pied crow. Look, it's attacking the vulture. Isn't that incredible? So it was swooping down and pecking at the vulture. So the white-backed vulture is having a handful this morning with the two pied crows on top. So the pied name comes from black and white. So pied is often used to name black and white coloration. Let's see if they'll go after this vulture again. Look, there we go. The vulture is saying, enough of you. Stop coming near me. I'm going to peck at you back. Let's see how this goes. The crows remind me of almost like wild dogs with hyenas, is that they come and peck and they cause trouble, and then as soon as this bigger bird turns around, then they all back away very, very quickly. See, look, let's see if it'll do it again. Being very cheeky, these crows. Like I say, I haven't seen crows in a very long time in this area, so to see 3 of them is quite interesting. The carcass must have been quite big. It must have been either a very large warthog, or they definitely killed something else, because to have this many scavengers and birds that eat off carcasses around means that we must have been something quite big. Well, we're going to leave this vulture and let him carry on his fight with our crows, and while we do that, I believe Tayla has managed to find a little baby giraffe, which should be very, very cute.
So remember we were tracking the giraffe footprints with the leopard tracks quite a while ago actually. Time flies out here on Bushwalk. But we must have just missed them. They must have turned off of the road to go off and go feeding. Or perhaps look for a little bit of shelter. But, well, while we were walking, I thought I saw something cross the road and I thought it was a kudu. And it could have been a kudu, but I wonder if maybe it wasn't another giraffe. A young giraffe that perhaps got a little bit of a fright. Now, it's not a particularly old giraffe, even though it's standing so tall. And it's being, actually, well, quite comfortable with us, but I can see Mom just off to the right, so that's also another reason. I don't think it's more than about a year old, maybe just shy of that, a couple of months shy of a year old. But isn't it absolutely gorgeous? That is so lovely, and it's always nice because this is one of the things we were looking for this morning on Bushwalk. And we didn't get the leopard in the cars today either. But how nice to come and have a look at this giraffe. And perhaps Byron can come here a little bit later. I don't think we'll be able to get too close to Mom and Calf, but in the cars, it might be a little bit more on the relaxed side. But we are so spoilt at the moment for the abundance of wildlife that's been around, the return of the wildebeest herd, hopefully the return of the zebra herd, the giraffe are coming back again, elephants coming out of our ears, and well, luckily for Tristan, he got those lions too, which is quite nice. So I'm really, really enjoying the bush at the moment. But quiet on the leopards, of course, but, you know, I suppose they need a break too. At one point we were seeing them almost every single day and not seeing any lions, so it's nice to have a bit of diversity. I think they must have been walking in circles, hey Herbie? Because if you actually have a look down on the ground, you see their tracks coming towards us. You see them? And then they disappear off the road. So I think they sort of came down. I don't want to move. Oh, we can actually move, though, because the giraffe has now moved off of the road. So that's okay. Let's reposition. So it obviously came walking down here. And we see them a lot in this area. Then did a big loop. And then just popping out in front. They could have been watching us the entire time. I find at the moment the giraffe and the elephants are the only ones that can really see above the tall grass. And particularly, if you look through here, look at all this thatching grass that's through here. There's very, very, very little, and I can't even see over the top of that thatching grass. So it's quite nice to be a giraffe. Hello, girl. Now, I don't know what her reaction is going to be to us. She's now not even looking at us. She's looking the other way, which is quite cool. There she goes, about to cross the road. Now, Ryan, you're wondering if giraffe can swim. That's a very, very good question. I've never seen a swimming giraffe before, but I have seen a giraffe sort of knee-deep in water, crossing a river. So they definitely do that. I don't think that they would cross in an area that's particularly deep. It must be quite awkward to have such a long neck. Maybe if they put some moon boots on, and if it wasn't maybe a very strong river, they could probably cross chest high. But I don't know if giraffe can swim. I don't think I've ever read anything about giraffe swimming before. But I've definitely seen them in and around water. Not having as much fun as the elephants, though. The elephants seem to enjoy the water the most. Well, and of course, the hippo. But out here, it's not often that you'll see giraffe crossing river systems. And we were chatting about this again. But if you go up to, I don't know, if they're giraffe in Botswana? I'm sure there's giraffe in Botswana with all those wetlands, the delta. I know in the Lozambezi National Park, for example, we're getting bitten. I had to swatch Andre's arm for him. I've watched the fly biting him. See, I've now emptied out my little stick because I wanted to cool down. I want to put it in my room, and I shall use it again on Bushwalk. I will take it out with me. And so I got distracted there, of course. So up there, you'll often see many of the different animals, from the waterbuck to buffalo to giraffe, everything you can think of. yes, they'll go move through the water quite happily. Out here, not so much. We're going to head on to quarantine. Maybe we'll actually see if we can get another view of the beautiful calf and her mother, and then we'll send you back across to Tristan, who is still in the area of those lions.
We are indeed, and as you can see there, that is the gruesome aftermath, unfortunately, of what happened last night. That is what you don't normally see, because generally when an animal is killed out here, we don't get a chance to see much of what happens because it happens in grass. But that is actually the blood stain from where the animals killed whatever it was. That's probably the warthog, although it looks like so much blood, I'm not sure that could be the warthog. And it's amazing, you can actually still smell the stomach content in this area, and that's why the vultures are probably hanging around. There's the stomach content there, and that's what was left of the grass that it ate. But it just shows you actually how much blood is inside one of these animals, and normally that just soaks into the ground so we don't notice it, but you can see it's kind of spread right across that runway where the lions fed last night. So a bit of a gory scene, but it is the way things are. Now also on my dashboard I've just noticed a tiny little insect. You see it? Hello little beetle. So this is, I think, one of the chafer beetles. I'm not 100% sure, but it is quite pretty. It's got that shiny little gold on it, so it's not just the light. The beetle itself is gold in coloration and is quite shiny and speckly, so I'll try and see if I can get a better idea of it, but it looks like one of the chafers. It's got the right structure and the right sort of shape to it to be a chafer beetle. Now, hopefully he'll be able to hang on while we carry on and start making our way slowly back to camp. It's time to get back for a bit of breakfast of our own. Hopefully it will not be warthog on the menu this morning, but you never know. Right, so while we carry on and slowly start to make our way home, let's go across to Byron and see what he's up to and see where he is and whether or not he's also going to be tracking some eggs and bacon.
Tristan, I'm definitely going to try and track something for breakfast this morning, but I just heard a little dwarf mongoose. Come on, let's see if we can find them. They just scurried off into the brush, just off to our right. Sometimes if you make a little noise, like a little squeaking noise, they do come out and investigate. Let's see. There it is, on the termite mound there. Can you see it? There we go, two of them, there we go. See, they do get very curious. Oh, that is great. Very, very cute little dwarf mongoose. These are little ones though. Probably little youngsters. Oh, isn't that wonderful? They're all coming out now to have a look at us. Wonderful. I get very curious now that my tracker friend Judas actually taught me that little trick, making a little squeaking sound, and they do get quite curious, these little dwarf mongoose. Oh, this is wonderful. Look at that, they are so cute. That one just grabbed a piece of a leaf there. I wonder what he's going to do with that. We do know that these dwarf mongoose enjoy feeding on insects, and I've seen them walking through the long grass and jumping up and trying to catch grasshoppers and that. Oh, lovely. You see, again, just listening out, you pick up on little sounds from little creatures, or any animal for that matter. Oh, lovely to see them. I'll probably start moving out of that little termite mound soon and go and forage for food during the day. Now that it's warming up, it's actually becoming beautiful. I've just got back to the quarantine area, the clearings area. Need to think of another name. I've got to Marula Clearing. Doesn't that sound better? Marula Clearing. There's plenty of marula trees around here. Louise says that's so original. Okay, Louise, we'll think of something more original. Byron's Clearing. Lord Byron's Clearing. We met up with some guests from Sri Lanka that were around the last few days, and they own a nature resort, and they were out doing guide exchange and picking up tips from a lot of the South African lodges to basically try and implement guiding strategies and lodge strategies in Sri Lanka. It was very interesting and fascinating. So they were off to Londolozi today. They were doing some work there and getting tips from Londolozi. But they also have amazing leopard viewing in those areas in Sri Lanka, and they also name certain leopards, the territorial leopards, just like Tristan was explaining to you earlier. So they were asking about a name for a new leopard. So I've suggested they need to name one the Byron male. Let's see if it happens. It could be quite interesting. I doubt it though. I doubt it's a good name for a leopard. Don't think so. Let's see what else we can find. There's some grey go-away birds. Someone asked me the other day to find grey go-away birds. White Lady Erwin, you wanted to know what my tip of the day was. I think today, let's see if those grey go-away birds, they just up in the tree. There they go. So my tip of the day, I think today would be a tip of a different tip of the day. I think just so we stopped for coffee earlier, and I said, it's nice to stop and stretch your legs and just appreciate what's going on around you. I think when you are on a safari or anywhere actually, so on a safari, if you're not really seeing too much, stop. Take a break, enjoy the scenery, enjoy the sounds, have a cup of coffee. But I think that goes for anything really. It doesn't matter where you are. Take some time out during the day, relax, appreciate what's around you, appreciate what you've got. I think that's very important. So that would be my tip of the day for today. Appreciation. How's that? And there's some beautiful flowers here too. While we're on this deep and meaningful conversation that I've just jumped on, there's a beautiful. Can you see it over here next to you? Yes, lower down. Nice. Beautiful. Wild hibiscus. I almost hit a blank there. These are wild hibiscus. Lovely flowers. Beautiful yellow with that brown center, the wild hibiscus. Almost hit a blank there. Oh, nice to see those flowers still around. I can see some civet tracks from last night. I've walked along the road. Now, remember I said we don't often see the civet, but we see their tracks regularly. Speaking of tracks, I also saw what I think are Tingana's tracks earlier that crossed south. So from where we had them, he did cross directly south through a thick block and eventually came out on the southern our southern boundary on the Gowrie cut line. He headed south into the property south of us. So you walk straight through, but it was difficult to obviously track him through that thick block. I'm going to head towards Djuma Dam quickly. Let's head to Tayla and see what she's found on her walk.
We've got a beautiful herd of Impala, and Byron, you just said that we should take a moment out of our day and just appreciate what's around us, so that's exactly what we are doing. Now, you may hear a strange noise in the background because we're back on this open area. We're actually right close to camp, and as you saw yesterday afternoon with the hippos at Chitwa Dam with the big tractor, is that everybody needs to work in between the hours of the guests. So they could be doing a couple of renovations, who knows, but I can definitely hear an angle grinder working very hard at the workshop at the moment, but that doesn't seem to bother the Impala so much. I think that they're quite used to hearing strange noises coming out from camp, whether it's people shouting or, well, angle grinders making a strange noise, tractors dragging tires on the roads to try and keep them in good nick, and they become very, very much relaxed. And I think the best animal species that we see that relaxes around the lodges are the Inyala and the bushbuck, which is really, really quite nice. And something that we're not going to see very much of with this herd of Impalas, if you look very carefully, you'll notice, and you would have seen, that there are quite a few young males from last year still hanging around with the females. That's not going to be tolerated very shortly because all the big rams are now starting the rut, and they are going to chase those boys out where they will have to go and join in on a bachelor herd somewhere else. They've got no chance of mating with any females this year, probably not next year or even the year after that. They'll need to mature, get nice and fit, grow those horns nice and long, and learn the ropes of life, well, after being a teenager and heading back into manhood. But it's not a quick process, of course, but it is lovely. And they're not snorting at us either, unlike the other Impala, because we're out in the open. We're not hiding ourselves, they can see us. Whereas back where we were, it was very, very dense, lots of guarri trees and silver cluster leaves and all bush willows, which was concealing us. And that's, again, what I said, the biggest thing with general game like this is that don't hide yourself, stay out in the open, let them know that you're here. Being so low down on the food chain can be quite intimidating. I don't know if I would trust anything. If I was an Impala, I'd probably run and snort an alarm and do all sorts of things if that were me. What is that? More Impala. I can actually hear them. It's a bizarre noise, but there must be another herd of Impala behind us in the thicket, because I can just hear the little ones sort of talking that strange noise that they like to make, which I'm not going to intimidate. What's wrong with me? Intimidate. Because I said the most bizarre things. My goodness. Yes. Louise is not having a good laugh at me. But you're all no surprise, me muddling my words out, and well, that's just one of those things, I suppose. And as long as I'm making you laugh, even if it is at my expense, that makes me happy. Well, we haven't seen Tristan for quite some time. Let's jump onto the back of his vehicle and find out what he's going to try and show you in the last couple of minutes of the show.
Well, I'm not very sure actually, Tayla. I'm just bumbling around. Maybe I should do some intimidating of my own and find something to intimidate. Maybe not. Tayla's going to hurt me, I'm sure. Don't want to get on the bad side of Tayla. Yeah. Thanks, Lou. Lou gave me a little drum roll there. Thank you, Lou. Very kind. But no, we haven't seen much. We found tracks now of a male leopard, which I would assume is Tingana. Very fresh tracks, funnily enough, going into Arathusa, but it goes into the most delightful bush that you've ever seen. Absolutely lovely. It's open, clear, you can see for miles. Not really, actually. It's horrible stuff. It's long grass, black monkey orange, zebra woods. In fact, the worst place possible for a leopard to go. But I haven't noticed this before, which is quite interesting. I'm going to reverse back a little bit to show you this. So, VM, if you look on your left side here, you will see, look at this very defined path that's going through the bush. Now, in this area, we have had no hippo activity. There's no tracks for hippos, there's no nothing. So normally a hippo is what creates this path, but this is all being created just by elephants moving from Treehouse Dam, which is south of us currently, and then moving up towards Tayla camp. So this is just repeated movement of elephants alone that has made this, which is really quite something. Generally you find that it's more the hippos that create paths like this, but these elephants have really made quite a big one in this area. And this is the kind of thing that we want. We want game paths like this going into the winter months. You find the animals, even now in summer, will jump onto that path, and it becomes much easier to track animals. When they walk in the long grass, it's almost impossible. You're not going to see a track, you're not going to see any sign of them. But as soon as we get game paths developing like that, the animals are like us. They like to walk where it's open and clear and they can see what's going on, and they don't have grass hitting them in the face, and it's just a lot more comfortable. So also the movement on the pathways causes the soil to be disturbed, and you get nice soft powdery substrate, and it's much easier then to follow tracks on that soft powdery stuff. So really cool to see that the Ellies are starting to create these paths now through this long grass, which is going to aid in our tracking process and how we're able to find animals over the next little bit until the winter really kicks in and it gets dry enough. White Lady Owen, it depends on the part of the reserve that you're in. So some people do cut the grass back and keep areas shortened. It's a sort of old school thought that if you cut certain areas, because of the lack of bulk grazers like buffalo in the summer months, that you're just helping with keeping certain areas in the right condition and the way that they should be, and promoting the growth of the right species of grass, and that things like zebra and wildebeest will then spend more time in those areas. But generally, as you can see, all of these areas here, there will be absolutely no cutting or mowing of any of this grass. This will all just die back naturally. So if you had to have taken a picture here in October last year and you compared it to now, you will not even recognize this place. It doesn't even look like the same area. There was not one blade of grass anywhere here. It was all just dust running through this area and trees with no leaves. And then now you can see, after a summer of rain, this grass has all come up, and we've ended up with a situation where we've got quite lush green grass again. So it will all die back naturally, and as it's dying, so animals are feeding off it and trampling on it, and eventually it all just gets sort of compressed down and it goes into that winter sort of look that we had. But last year was a very extreme sort of difference. Last year was the worst that I've ever seen it, and funny enough, we were looking at clips the other day and we saw that it's actually, looking now, you can't believe that the bush looked the way it did. It was completely barren of any sort of life. So quite amazing how quickly it bounces back. Now, talking about bouncing back, let's go across to Byron, who's slowly bouncing his way back to camp and is at Tayla Dam admiring the scenery.
Yes, Tristan, I am indeed. There's a lot going on here actually, which is great. There's barn swallows diving down and drinking water actually. That's what they're doing. Amazing to see them flying and swooping down like that. But it's very difficult to focus on them, as Craig is seeing. However, there's also, just further back there's some Egyptian geese, and then white-faced whistling ducks, or white-faced ducks. Always nice to see them around. And if we go further left, there are hardy-dar ibis looking for food on the water's edge. There they are. And then just a little bit further left, there is a terrapin on that log. You see, there we go. There's a little terrapin sunning itself. And then a beautiful brown snake eagle up in the tree above them. So there's a lot going on here. There it is, sitting right at the top. Wonderful brown snake eagle. It's been a good morning. It started to pick up for us, especially towards the end, the last hour or so, since we had our coffee. A lot of elephant. We saw a few warthog running past, a lot of Impala. So it's been a really, really fantastic morning. I hope all of you have enjoyed it. Great to see those mating lines with Tristan. Thank you to Louise and Megan in final control. It was great having the voices in my head, as always. Thanks to Tayla and Tristan also out, and the cameraman. From Craig and myself, hope you've had a wonderful morning. We'll see you this afternoon. Don't forget, for our afternoon safari. Goodbye, everyone.